Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rajant's fourth Partner Excellence webinar. Today's subject is sales forecasting and pipeline management to increase sales and cash flow. As a reminder, this webinar is being recorded and will be posted to our partner portal in the next few days. I would encourage you to share it with your coworkers who are unable to attend. My name is Todd Rigby. I'm a Director of Sales for Rajant, and I have the honor of being your host today. Everyone is currently muted except for our presenters. If you have a question, please type it into the chat feature. You can locate it by clicking on the three horizontal lines in the web meeting taskbar. We have planned multiple question breaks. I will call on you to ask your question when it is your turn. Without further ado, let me introduce today's speakers. We have Michael Cohen, the Managing Director of Connectronics, Bernard Taliaferro, Vice President of Channels for Rajant, and Kyle Solomon, the Mining Account Manager for SiteTech Southwest. I'm going to start by giving a little bit of foundational information and explaining exactly what a sales funnel is and how it is used. Having a defined sales funnel with specific stages or benchmarks enables all stakeholders to have a common understanding when discussing deal flow. So who are the stakeholders? Well, the stakeholders might be your distributor, it might be your Rajant rep, it might be the sales manager at a partner, might be the salesman, might be other folks that work at a partner, such as engineers or senior management. By having this foundation with common language and common benchmarks, you can have a conversation and everybody can be on the same page to understand exactly where an opportunity is in its journey toward making a sale. A computerized sales funnel can also allow you to filter your sales opportunities to more efficiently manage your time. In turn, this will allow you to prioritize your workday. And lastly, a sales forecast ensures that no sales opportunity ever falls through the cracks and gets forgotten about. I want to summarize some important details in every opportunity that let you build a sales forecast. Obviously, first, every opportunity needs to have a name. Stage is one of the most critical elements, as these are the specific benchmarks as the deal is moving through the pipeline. Identified is just what it sounds. This is when you first catch wind that a potential customer has a problem. Qualified's a little bit tricky, and I found that lots of different people have different decision points as to when they move a project from identified from qualified. For me personally, I make sure that I can answer what, when, and how prior to moving an opportunity to qualified. So the what is, what breadcrumbs are they going to buy and how many are they planning to buy? The when is, when are they planning to buy? And the how is, how are they going to pay for it? Now, I want to give you a little bit more information on the when and the how. So oftentimes, we make the mistake as salespeople of making an assumption as to when they're going to buy. And this then results in us having an inactive pipeline and forecast. I'd like to play or ask a little offhanded question to my customers. And I typically say, when is the latest you need to have this network installed and operational? The reason I ask the question that way is because it causes them to think when they need everything up and running. Oftentimes, the customer has no idea how much work and effort and planning goes into designing, estimating, ordering all the incidentals, as well as all the labor to do an install. And when you ask the question this way, you can then take their date when they need it operational and work backwards to a reasonable date as to when they need to submit a purchase order to you in order for you to meet their expectations for having the network operational. As far as the how and where the money's coming from, it's super important to know, since many times when we're selling large networks, that these are capital budgeted items. If you don't know for certain that the money is already in the budget, then there's a good chance, the purchase isn't going to happen anytime soon. Additionally, it's important for you to understand, even if the money's in the budget, exactly what the purchase authorization process is, because sometimes this by itself can take multiple months. The next stage that Rajant uses is quote proposal. Now, for me to move an opportunity to this phase, I ensure that the partner has in fact submitted a formal written proposal to the customer. Contracting or verbal commitment to purchase. My definition for this is when a customer has specifically told a reseller partner, we are in fact going to purchase Rajant, and we are in fact going to purchase it from you. Anything less than that is what I call happy talk. It is not a commitment. It's just trying to lead you on and make you feel good that you still have a shot. So be careful not to advance opportunities through these phases until they've met specific benchmarks. Now, I want to mention the benchmarks I'm going over today are not necessarily the only valid benchmarks that you could have. You're welcome to use Rajant's benchmarks. You're welcome to make your own. The fundamental importance of having benchmarks, as I said initially, is so that you and your team can have a common language to understand how the deal is progressing through the sales pipeline. And then lastly, this is the objective, is everybody wants to win the deal. So in order to market one, you need to have a purchase order in hand. Or if you market lost, this is typically where the customer says, don't call me again. And sorry, I'm struggling with getting the slides to advance a little bit. So as a salesperson, how do you use a pipeline and a funnel to your advantage? Well, the first thing is to plan your work. There's an old saying, plan your work and then work your plan. The next way I use a sales funnel is I prioritize my work and actions in these 4 ways. My primary focus is always on my near-term opportunities that have the highest probability of closing. If I get through, in a given day, if I get through those opportunities, then I move down to near-term opportunities with a lower probability of closing. After that, I work on longer-term opportunities with a high probability of closing. And lastly, I work on longer-term opportunities with a low probability of closing. Several years ago, there was a popular book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The author, Stephen Covey, wrote about a priority matrix that he uses to plan his work. He states that the most important thing for him to do every day are urgent tasks that are high importance. And then if he gets all of those done, he moves on to urgent tasks with less importance. And in the off chance all of those are completed, he then moves to non-urgent tasks that are not important. And he openly states he never has time for the non-urgent, non-important tasks. And I think you can see that there's some alignment between Stephen Covey's priority matrix and using a sales pipeline to your advantage to make the most efficient use of your time. One thing to keep in mind is that sales funnels are a bit like a budget. If you've ever made a budget before, you find that when you first make it, it's probably very inaccurate. You leave things out. You find that the amounts you put down aren't exactly correct. The more you use a sales funnel, the more accurate it becomes. You start to get a feel for what probability benchmark will close and above. Personally, the way I rate opportunities is typically I find that opportunities that have an 80% or higher probability almost always close. By doing this consistently, this enables you to better manage your sales revenue and will increase your cash flow. And lastly, it enables you, both as a salesperson and a sales manager, to calculate additional KPIs, such as your average time to close or your percentage of deals that close. And these are key factors to help you understand how large your sales pipeline needs to be in order to hit your sales targets. I'm trying to do 6 things at once here. It doesn't appear that we have any questions from the audience, so I will turn the time over to Michael Bridge.
Thank you, Todd. We are privileged to be able to participate in this roundtable on a subject that Connectronics puts much emphasis on: supporting our partners with the product they need when they need it. Together with Rajant and our partners, we have been successful in meeting our partners' timelines due to receiving project awareness well in advance of the project due date. The very topics that we will be discussing are examples of how we work with Kyle's team at SciTech Southwest, many other partners, and with the Rajant team. So how does Connectronics use the pipeline data from our partners? Connectronics applies 3 principles to each project we become aware of to ensure that our partners have what they need when they need it. Allocation. We use a very sophisticated method of inventory allocation for your projects that you can count on. Inventory flexibility. Our large inventory allows for project variances. And a team effort. Our tagline is, "Our resources are your solution." We live this every day and on every project. So let's take a moment and look at each of these in greater detail. Allocation. The Connectronics sales team takes the information you provide and distributes the pertinent details to each department at Connectronics, and they begin doing their planning. They will ask you questions. They will make sure they have a complete understanding of your needs. This enables them to communicate with the other departments and start setting expectations. They'll assign an expected ship date, and they'll begin ranking the probability. The timing and the ranking allow proper action from other departments. And from the moment your project turns into a high probability, we'll start allocating product towards your project. And when we say allocation, we mean it. Once the project is allocated, we start to determine what product we have in stock, what's already on order, and then what product needs to be ordered related to your project. And all of that is held for you. You can count on it. We are also communicating this to Rajant as we work closely with them on our inventory and allocations, so they are aware. This includes the Rajant sales director to the operations team at Rajant. This allows you confidence that you will have what you need when you need it, even with timeline changes. Inventory flexibility. We understand that every project will have variances. Tell me a project that hasn't. If we all waited to communicate until every T was crossed and every I was dotted, it'd be too late. We get that. We can work with that. Us having visibility at the earliest stages allows for you to successfully meet your commitments to your client. We greatly appreciate the communication and regular updates as we move through the process together, which allows for adjustments and changes. Connectronics carries a large inventory of Rajant products. This allows us to accommodate ebbs and flows as the bill of materials continue to evolve. We recently placed a large order with Rajant for some unique breadcrumbs for Kyle's team. We placed the order against the original bill of material as we were up against a timeline and needed to get things moving with Rajant. 2 weeks after placing the order, the quantities were reduced by 20%. But that's okay. Just as the quantities decreased, they can increase. We have them covered. And as a plan B, we have additional inventory for other projects that we know will be developing, and we can begin allocating to them. The key is communication. Let us know as soon as you know, and we will take it from there. You can focus on other areas of the project, knowing Connectronics and Rajant has you covered. And then a team effort. Beginning with the sales team, they will discuss with you the project with you, understand what is required, determine the timing, and begin to work with other departments in Connectronics. Our engineering team will create or review the bill of material and make sure all required components are accounted for as they prepare to pass along the information. And then our purchasing team reviews the data from the quotes, always looking ahead to allocate against high probability projects and order products required to meet your deadlines. Our shipping and receiving teams in the departments are monitoring and expecting receive and ship dates, coordinating shipping and transit to make sure resources are allocated to prompt delivery. Our team is looking at data every day, anticipating upcoming project delivery dates, confirming we have the items in stock that are needed. The sales team notifies the partners of progress in meeting their desired delivery date, everything from the first notice of project all the way through to delivery to your dock. We are monitoring and tracking everything to make it successful. By utilizing these techniques, communicating with our partners and with Rajant, Connectronics can fulfill its role in the channel, enable our partners to be more successful. Together, we are stronger. We trust that as you work closely with us, you will see and feel this as well. Thank you for allowing us to share some insight as to how we use the pipeline data. At this time, I'm pleased to answer any questions.
Thanks, Michael. We have one question from Bobby Lonsdale. Would you like to ask your question now?
Yes, thank you. And Michael, I just wanted to know, what kind of probability percentage are you looking at for you as necessary for you guys to allocate products when looking at the pipeline?
Sure. Well, we have an internal ranking system. Just as Todd was talking about his ranking system, ours is very similar, maybe slightly different percentages. But when our team feels a PO is imminent, product would definitely be allocated. If it's more likely than not, it may happen. We also consider that depending on the product. So if it was a very unique product, we'd probably wait till it was a higher probability. But if it's something that's more common, we have more flexibility with that, and we'll allocate it maybe a little earlier on than a higher probability.
Perfect. Thank you for your insight.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bobby. Let's turn the time over to Bernard.
Thanks a lot, Todd, and thanks for your input, Michael, and thanks for your question, Bobby. So what I want to do is I want to expand on forecasting requirements and highlight some of the benefits of sharing your forecast with the team. Still working to gain control. There we go. I think I have it now. Yes. Awesome. So yeah, I'm going to go over forecasting requirements and benefits of that. So I'm going to start by talking about the type of funnel that we prefer to see, and then what information we like to see in that funnel or in that forecast. And then I will touch a little bit on why we are looking for certain information to be included in that forecast, what we do with that information, things like importing data into our CRM, verifying export compliance and other things, and then how we use it in our distributor inventory management process. And I'll end by just talking about how that ultimately leads to shorter lead times and quicker time to cash for everybody. So to start off with, forecast requirements. So I call the forecast that we're looking for a rolling 30, 60, 90-day forecast. And me calling it a rolling forecast implies that it's somewhat of a living document. So I'm expecting that as I'm receiving these rolling forecasts from you on an ongoing basis, there's going to be change and evolution in it. Probably going to change, close dates are going to change, the bill of materials is going to evolve, new opportunities are going to be added to that pipeline. And I'll point out, I say 30, 60, 90-day forecast. That doesn't mean that I'm not interested in knowing about things that are projected for further out. We want as much information as possible. We want to know about opportunities as early in the process as possible, because this information is used in our planning for quantities of components that we need to have not only today, but next year and things like that. So we have a template in the partner portal. In the resource section under partner program, there's an Microsoft Excel file there called forecast template, and it's got columns already populated identifying the information that we're looking for in the pipeline. Of course, we want to know who you are that are providing the forecast, company and your name, but then we also want to understand who the end user is, where is the end user deployment site or project deployment site. We want to understand the estimated close date, the probability, and then the bill of materials. And then extremely important is for us to understand which one of our authorized distributors each project will be procured from, because that enables me to work with or break your pipeline down by source distributor and then work with each of our distributors to make sure that they've got the right product on the shelf. There we go. And so, our ask is that you send your pipeline at least on a monthly basis to your agent sales director, and then also to my team, which can be reached at channel@ragent.com. If your entire pipeline is all going through one distributor, then I absolutely encourage you to send the pipeline to your distributor contact as well. Or if you can, if you're working with multiple distributors and you can split it into which projects will go to which, of course, share the appropriate information or the available information with your distributors as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the benefits. I already mentioned the data gets entered into our CRM. We actually use Salesforce. So our sales directors and our inside sales support guys will take the data from the pipeline reports and enter that into Salesforce, whether it's new opportunities or updates.
Because this next part is extremely important, and it's something that's happening behind the scenes that most of you aren't aware of. So you all know that our product has AES 256 encryption embedded in them. It's not something that can be removed, so we don't have a variant with and a variant without. So that, coupled with the fact that our radios are used by the U.S. military and other militaries, so our products are considered dual use, there are some export restrictions associated with our products. So we've got to do some export compliance vetting to make sure that our products aren't being shipped to certain countries, certain companies, certain individuals around the globe, including in the United States. Individuals and companies that are considered not so friendly to the U.S. government. So we use the forecast in order to help to facilitate, completing export compliance vetting. All right, and I'm not able to move the slides. We also use the forecast to verify the bill of materials and compare it to our homologation and type approval database. So ensuring that the product mix that has been chosen, the breadcrumbs in there are approved to be shipped to that designated end customer destination. Just as an example, we have the ES1 2450R and we have the ES1 2450CS. The R has certain approvals that the CS does not have yet. So we're paying attention to things like that to determine which product should actually be used based on the end customer destination. So that's just a few of the things that the forecast enables. And as you can imagine, us being able to proactively work on these things prevents or minimizes delays in the process. Giz, I'm trying to move the slides forward, but I'm not getting anything. Thanks. So last thing I'll point out, are some additional benefits. So Rajant is a build to order manufacturer. So that whole build to order process really starts with the forecast. So partners provide forecasts. We review them at Rajant. We share them with our distribution partners, review them with them. Our distribution partners, as Michael shared, are comparing that forecast to their inventory position, what's on the shelf, what's on order, and then they make decisions on how they're going to fill the gaps that are identified based on the information that we provide. They then place orders to Rajant. Rajant begins to build and then ship those products to the distributors. And the ultimate plan is to have products delivered to the distributors and on the shelf in time for when the partners need them. And so this helps us to work with our distributors to manage that whole inventory process, not only to make sure that the right products are being built, but that they're going to the correct distributors. So each distributor has what's needed when and where it's needed. And so this drives proactive ordering. It reduces the overall lead times because, again, our standard lead time is about 12 weeks. So by forecasting and providing us with this information proactively, we're able to work with our distributors to make decisions, to help them make decisions on what to order ahead of time so that it's not 12 weeks from when the project is finally awarded that the product is just getting ordered. So now it minimizes or reduces the amount of time that you, our integration partner, are waiting for product, and then that reduces how long it takes for you to get product and begin to deploy at your customer. And then that ultimately reduces how long it takes for you to get to the point where you can invoice and see cash. So I'll take questions if there are any at this time.
It doesn't look like anybody's asked a question, but I do want to thank you for your comments, Bernard. I liked the one thing you mentioned about the importance of partners sharing with their Rajant sales rep which distributor they would prefer to work with, because I do want to clarify, Rajant does not share every opportunity with every distributor. We try to only share the opportunities with the distributors that we've been told by partners that they're planning to work with. We do have one question from Carrie Gibson, if you'd like to ask it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. First off, just wanted to say great insights from everybody. The subject line didn't immediately connect with Rajant, but there were great insights, and pipeline management is really important for all of us. So thanks for taking the time to prepare and share with us. The question I have, I guess it could be placed, it affects distributors and it affects partners. And I'm just curious, I'm with Crossover, and we keep, like Connectronics, we keep a large amount of inventory. But for projects, in particular projects that maybe are very large or have unique breadcrumbs and other accessories, what's the feeling about when we should submit a purchase order? Should we wait till we have all the details? What's the tolerance for modifications to orders that are placed? And what insights could you share on that question?
Sure, I'll take that question.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that.
Yeah, so the earlier that that purchase order can be placed, the better. We understand that there are going to be changes. There may be increases or decreases in quantities. There may be some shifts in product variant. But the earlier that the breadcrumb mix is nailed down, once that's relatively known, I would encourage our distributors to place orders, because again, we've got components on the shelf, and then once we receive the order, we start building for the specific requirement. So I mean, we've got metal chassis in the house. We've got, main processor cards. We've got radio cards, all that stuff in house, but we don't have the finished goods done. If there are changes to the bill of materials, after the purchase order is placed, again, it's just about, communication and communicating as quickly as possible so that midstream adjustments can be made. We're not a tiny company, but we're small enough that we're able to be resilient and flexible, and we can adjust midstream. And we appreciate the partnership that we have with all of our distributors and all of our partners, and that transparent communication that we have between us. So with that open communication, we'll make the adjustments, and we'll shift where we need to if there are increases or decreases in quantities. Again, we're small enough and we're flexible enough that we can sit down and talk through it and identify what the best thing to do is. So, again, it's just all about communication. As soon as you've got credible information about the bill of materials, especially the breadcrumbs, as soon as you can place that order, the better. I hope that answered you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
So
Bernard.
thank you. Appreciate it. Mhm.
Let's turn the time over to Kyle Solomon.
Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where in the world you're joining us from. My name is Kyle Solomon. I'm the mining account manager at SciTech Southwest. We handle the territory of Arizona and Nevada here in the US. And hopefully today I can give you a little bit of a partner or a dealer partner perspective on forecasting and pipeline management. We're very proud to participate and represent SciTech in this webinar with our valued partners, Rajant and Connectronics. As a construction and mining technology reseller, we rely on manufacturers such as Rajant and distributors such as Connectronics to meet the expectations of our end user clients. It's because of this relationship with these partners that we're able to provide a high level of service and continue to be a top partner for our clients. As I mentioned, today we'll be discussing the planning and communication required to maintain these important relationships by going over pipeline management best practices, forecasting, and planning with distributors. How do I manage my pipeline? The most important thing when managing your pipeline, aside from communication, is organization. Methods and resources will vary from dealer to dealer, but the important thing is that you're using some type of organizational tool, such as a CRM, to enter your deals and opportunities. SciTech Southwest, we use NetSuite, and it's an appropriate tool for creating a forecast that is both usable and helpful to our dealer, to our manufacturer and distributor partners. Within this tool, I like to keep things organized by deal size and expected close date. And it's important to note that both of these variables will likely change throughout the course of the deal. Oftentimes, the expected close date can be pushed back or it can be moved up, and the deal size can either grow or shrink. Your close probability can change as well, which is why it's best to typically start lower and move that percentage higher as you move through the stages that both Michael and Todd discussed and near the expected close date. Quoting an end user client on a network deployment is a whole lot more than just giving them a price. Several other factors come into play and are important to be aware of, such as lead time, product availability, labor, consumables, such as cables and connectors, training, necessary safety equipment or training for installation are all examples of things that may have a cost to them. And I've always found it's best to be as upfront as possible about these costs with the client. So always easier to remove these variables later than it is to add them later. How does forecasting help drive sales? Forecasting not only helps the manufacturer and distributor, but it can actually help the end user too. It allows you to look into the future and prepare for the unexpected. This will allow you and your team to better prepare for inventory allocation and be in a better position to close the deal. If the deal does end up not going through, we can reallocate inventory. We can find rental opportunities. There's other deals that will come up. So there's never a worry about having too much inventory allocated to a deal and then not having that deal go through. And that is thanks to our excellent distributor partners such as Connectronics. I think you can go to the next slide there, please. Perfect. The overwhelming theme from Bernard, Michael, Todd, and myself is it's all about communication. When it comes to forecasting and affecting the other stakeholders of the deal, we need to make sure we're communicating promptly, effectively, whether that's good or bad news. We need to give clear expectations of what will occur in the coming weeks, quarter, months, or years. We can gather data from our historical forecast and apply it to the future to create even more accurate forecasting. This gives management at the dealer, manufacturer, and distributor a clearer view of what they can expect. We often have surprise one-off orders come up from our end users who currently have networks deployed, whether it's for backup breadcrumbs, to expand the network, or to add additional mobile nodes. We work with Connectronics and other distributors to make sure that we have available inventory for these surprise orders by maintaining a high level of communication. And with that, I'd like to see if we have any questions. And I thank everybody for listening today.
Well, thank you, Kyle. We do not have any additional questions. I want to thank everyone for spending this time with us. We appreciate your patience today as we worked through a few technical glitches. I'd like to give special thanks to Michael Bridge, Bernard Taliaferro, and Kyle Solomon. It takes quite a bit of time to prepare for these webinars. I would also like to recognize and thank Gizzy O'Toole. He's busy behind the scenes, making sure these webinars run as smoothly as they do. And lastly, I would like to thank Bobby and Carrie for asking questions. Getting perspectives from channel partners around the globe make these sessions far more interesting for everyone. We hope you found today's session informative. Please watch for an invitation to our next Partner Excellence webinar, which will be in early August. Have a great day.